Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Right Chronicles with Fans Family. I'm Uncle Tots. I am here with Rabino. And listen, there's a new angle to there's a major shift, a minor shift, however you want to look at it, into the financials of the Yankees offseason. It came out yesterday. It was announced that the Tampa Bay Rays, because of their fake-ass stadium, that was put together by a 2-year-old with an erector set. The roof came off during the storm, and it was very unfortunate for a lot of people in that area. I want to downplay that. But you're a major league ballpark and in Florida, and you didn't account for using paper to roof your building. But the Yankees are going to have to open the doors on George M Steinbrenner Field for the Tampa Bay Rays in 2025 season, while they do all the repairs on Tropicana Field. So the Rays now do have to pay the Yankees for that space. So how does this truly affect the offseason on the financial end for the Yankees? As this is not extra, I don't see this as extra money to give to Soto. I want to take the angle of now they have between the $15 million from the Rays coming in for use of the park and all the sponsors and stuff like that. How does this help the Yankees win the offseason by being able to have a little more flexibility going after other free agents for first base, second or third, bullpen help, a starter? This is something that could definitely that will definitely benefit the Yankees if they open the wallets properly. If you did have to bring in a player outside, does this mean that they go a little more heavy onto Christian Walker? Does this mean that they open the invite, a player for third base that hasn't really been talked about? I'm not a fan of him. I'll say that myself. I don't like the guy, but Bregman is also on the market, although I do not expect him to leave Houston, which is why I haven't mentioned his name to this point. Alonso, like this, there are a lot of free agents for the infield that can secure a lot of the deficiencies. Rob, how do you feel with this money from the Rays? Is this something you see the Yankees saying, all right, we could just be a little more, we could expand our horizons into spending in the offseason?
It shouldn't be they shouldn't have any excuses now to spend a little bit extra. I'm not saying they have to blow past 301 or anything, but they should, with this extra $15 million expected money, which, by the way, the New York Yankees are the highest paid Tampa Bay Ray going into next season. Go figure. Yeah, I think they should be able to open up their wallets a little bit more. $15 million in today's game isn't going to get you a Pete Alonso, but it can help you in terms of, okay, we can add a few extra million if need be, just because you didn't have that money before, you're going to have it go after the season. Depending on how many people show up, I don't know how much of it's going to go to the Yankees in terms of what the Rays make and what the Yankees make, but expected $15 million. It should go to something. I don't know what it's going to go to, but yeah, it should help them in terms of other players. The money they have for Soto is aside from what they're getting from the Rays. It's just, this helps a little bit. It's not like it's going to add to their budget or anything. And yeah, Ken, you're right. It was an unfortunate thing. That stadium was able to survive multiple hurricanes, so it wasn't the way it was built. I don't know. I don't want to blame the way it was built on that roof collapse, and that was a really serious thing. So it sucks because it was supposed to be a shelter, and that was a terrible, terrible storm. And I can tell you, just being in the state, we didn't get hit very much, but that could have been a lot worse for me. So I feel terrible for everybody in that area, and I'm just glad that at least the Rays are going to have a place to play. But yeah, that's the way that roof collapsed. It was unexpected. I don't think it was something to do with the way it was built. It was just a really unfortunate thing that happened there. So I'm glad that no one got hurt. I'll tell you that much, and I'm glad that they're going to be able to fix it. But maybe it leads to them getting a different stadium in the near future. But in terms of the money, but let's just see them use it for once instead of saying we can use this to pay our bondsmen. No, let's just use that towards the roster.
Yeah, no, that's it. And it was, my opening was kind of more of a jab at the joke of the Tropicana that we're always saying is the worst stadium in baseball. But it was a jab at the Rays and their organization that was did not land. So I was not trying to insinuate that it was bound to happen. It was unfortunate because you're right. It was a shelter for a lot of people in Florida. It is a loss. It does suck. And I do actually give credit to Hal. I don't have his full statement, but I saw it yesterday, and he was very, very empathetic towards the people in that area. They want to make sure that the rebuild of the stadium is done properly, and opening up your door for somebody in need is something that everybody should do. And pretty much Hal's statement was, the money aside of what we're getting, it's rivalry, whether it's sports or whatever in life. When you see somebody in need, you should open your door and offer the help that they need. So let's have that as the main message through this whole situation. I think that what they should do with that money, it has to go. They have to put that towards payroll. And I saw this one it's Acevedo, and we're gonna go through some of the comments and the shout outs in a second. This one I never thought of until I saw the comment. To use that money to kind of eat the money on DJ and get him out of there. That's interesting. I don't know if that would work. I think a guy with DJ's baseball IQ. Take his health away from the situation for a second. That is a guy that you don't have Rizzo around. DJ is one of these guys. Let's keep in mind with his baseball IQ, can be a huge help if they're going to be using a lot of the minor league, a lot of the kids getting a shot in the next season in the spring. It's pretty much like a player coach type of situation, like we have it with Rizzo. So DFAing DJ would not be on my list of things to do this offseason, as much as it could open roster spots to somebody else. Rob, what do you think about that comment there?
I completely disagree about keeping him on as a player coach. The dude's cooked. For $15 million, you're going to have a player coach? Hell no. Please.
Okay.
I don't want to see DJ LeMahieu anymore. I like DJ. I was glad when they re-signed him, but these last few years is he's just done. It's been unfortunate to see him collapse the way he has, but injuries have kicked his ass, and he's older now. You just can't justify keeping him on the roster unless you simply cannot find a first baseman. But the thing is, you can. There's several other options that you can let go of DJ and just eat the money for him not to play for you. And I think Ken's got a really good point. It might be a non-factor. It's just they're probably going to pocket it and use it for other things. Again, $15 million. It's not like they're getting enough to say you can go pay several players for that. So yeah, I don't really see it being too much of a factor, but you never know. They could say, hey, that's $15 million we didn't have before. We can account that for a little bit extra on our payroll. I'm not saying all $15 million is going to go to the payroll, but maybe like a bullpen arm or two on the relatively cheap could get that done. So I'm not expecting huge things to happen because of this extra $15 million, but maybe an extra move could be done because of it. So even if they spent like $7 million on a bullpen arm, it'd be like, hey, you didn't have that before in your budget, but with the Rays taking the minor league stadium for the season, so that could help. But it could be like Jonathan saying, just pay down some of the payroll, the luxury tax stuff, and all that. Yeah. It's going to help in some capacity, but if a little bit of it can go to payroll, that'd be nice. That's all I'm trying to say. And I don't think $15 million is going to go to a player. Like, here, the Rays are going to pay this guy. It's not how it's going to work. It's really just they're paying us to use our stadium, and the Yankees are going to use that money for probably to fix up the minor league stadium, if we're being honest, because the Rays are going to be using it all season.
Yeah, no, I think, and I think that's the grand scheme of it. Is this doesn't mean like players these days are not going to sign for. You're not going to get a 1 year deal for 15 million and you consider it a free player. I think that's a naive approach. But there's also the angle that I don't agree with is like this means that the Yankees shouldn't miss out on anybody on the free agent market because we have the because of the Rays. Um, it I don't think it eliminates the excuse of not getting somebody. I think this is something where it is what it is. And like you said, they're good. It's going to go to other things because so 2 years that's an option too, Acevedo. And as we're bringing into the comments, let's take a quick pause and let's kind of get into a roll call. Before we get into the roll call, if you do want to join the chat, all you got to do is simply for free hit that subscribe button, share this out, like this video if you're enjoying the discussion. If you want to dislike it, that you don't like the discussion, either way, but hit that subscribe and throw your opinions into our chat as we appreciate all of them. So, do want to give a quick good morning and shout out to Jonathan, CT Card, Stephen B. We got Lou hanging out with us, FJ, Gregory Wayne, Ken as always, Dev Finch, what's going on, Dev, Mr. Barros, Acevedo. We got Jason Custodia. Was our Brad Jewis hanging out with us this morning. And we appreciate everybody that is in the comment section. If everybody watching on our other social media outlets, good morning to you as well. And everybody listening on Sports Wire Radio. This was actually the comment I was going to go right into, Rob. So we're on the same. We're actually our minds are in sync right now. He would like, Dad would like to personally have Alonso at first, Bregman at third, put Jazz back at second, with Volpe at shortstop. Is this the infield that can really get things over the hump?
They're not spending that money on those players. If you're getting Soto back, can we spell his name right? It is Jazz with the J. Please, I'm begging you. It is Jazz with the J.
Palmintero.
Yeah, that's a different. That's Jazz. This is Jazz. We got to get the guy's name right. But no, they're not signing Alonso and Bregman and still bringing back Soto. That's just very. That's an very unlikely scenario unless the Yankees find a way to move a lot of money this offseason. Like talking about Stroman, Nestor, the non-tender guys, and maybe even a guy like Rodon or something would have to get moved in order for them to fit that into the payroll. Maybe one of those two, and I think the most likely would be Bregman because they probably want a third baseman more than they would want to spend the money on Alonso. Alonso's probably going to cost you more than Bregman. I don't see any scenario where they get both of them and bring back Juan Soto. Could they afford it? Yes. Will they do it? No.
Yeah, no, I don't see a major move. Aside from Soto, I want to try to, there are other positions that deserve discussion. The first base, it has to be either Alonso or Walker for me. I know, there are other options, but I mean, I'm on Walker. Like that's my guy. That's who I want playing first base next year. I think he's the perfect stopgap until there are moves that can be made on the international market that's been talked about. And Ken, you're right. Bregman and Alonso are going to cost you at least $65 million for this year. As much as yes, they can afford it if they open up the wallet. But they're going to do whatever they can until it's in case of emergency break glass. They're not going over that 301 mark. They're not going to do it. Will they do it? I don't know. I don't see it at this point. I don't think it's a necessity to go and run the table on free agents. I really don't. But joining us at the moment, let's bring in Donald with us. Donald, how is everything going? Good to see you with us this morning.
Good morning.
Just to get you a little caught up on the discussion with the money coming from the Rays. Is that an excuse for the Yankees not to go after somebody? Is it just at 15 million? Is it really going to move the needle on the off-season plan for the Yankees? Um, and aside from Soto, does this give an opportunity for the Yankees to pursue a little more aggressively somebody for first base, second or third?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's a really good thing that they're doing with
Yeah.
the Hurricanes. I think that's my biggest takeaway is that the Yankees are doing a good thing for baseball and for Tampa Bay in general with the Hurricanes and things like that. So, I mean, to be honest, the whole stuff about the extra money and all that stuff for me is secondary. The most important thing is that the Yankees are doing a good thing for another team. Sure, the income's helpful, but the Yankees aren't poor. So again, as we've broken down, the Yankees are not poor. So even without that 15 million, they could afford Soto and a first baseman. But I think it's a great thing that Hal Steinbrenner is doing, and it'll be nice to play Tampa Bay on another home game because that'll just be another home game for us now. And it'll be cool because it's a much better ballpark than that monstrosity that Tampa Bay had in that dome anyway. So it's a win-win-win-win-win as far as I'm concerned.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. What's FJ saying here? There has to be a way for the Yankees to lengthen the lineup without going over 300. Yeah, and that's the trade
Yes.
market. Nate Lowe is available for 10 million, potentially 11. I don't maybe the 11 million max. Lamont Wade is apparently on the trade market. He's going to cost you barely anything if that's a stopgap. We've mentioned Ken's brought up Josh Bell as a much cheaper option. There are ways to do it to make the team better, and you don't have to break the bank. So if Christian Walker's their guy, by all means, go get him. I'd be fine with that. But you can certainly, if a team like Texas is wanting to cut payroll, Nate Lowe is a perfect Yankee. Lefty power swing, good glove. He's going to tear it up with the short porch, and that's what you want to do. Is you want to get a big bat in between Judge and Stanton, because the big bat between Judge and the leadoff hitter is obviously going to be Soto if he's back, and you put Nate Lowe between Judge and Stanton. That lengthens out the lineup because we needed that in the playoffs. We were hoping it was Austin Wells. It wasn't throughout the month of October, but you need that. You need that big lefty bat to kind of balance things out, and Nate Lowe would be that perfect guy. Lamont Wade would be a good guy at the top of the order, and maybe you go Judge 2, Soto 3. So there are ways to lengthen out the lineup by not having to break the bank to do so. So that's why I think the Yankees really are going to get creative this offseason, because there's so many guys available now that at a position of need. Yandy Diaz is on the block. We talked about him. So those three guys are all trade options, and they won't have to break the bank for it. So the Yankees don't have to go over 301. They don't. And they can still field a really good team because, again, I know they lost, but this is a team that just made the World Series. They just need to make a few fixes here and there, and this is a team that can get right back to it. The American League is weak compared to the National League. So if a few tweaks can be made, and let's be honest, most of the tweaks that the Yankees have to make are internally, not really on the roster. The roster's good. It's just they need to make a few tweaks with it, and internally they need to fix a lot. And this team could be right back in the World Series. But Nate Lowe would be my top choice at first because he'd only cost you prospects. And we have a lot of those, and if the Rangers are trying to move money, hey, make a deal happen. And if not, Yandy Diaz would be great because we know Tampa Bay's always trying to sell. And again, Lamont Wade as a stopgap for 1 year, you can do a lot worse than that. So the options are there. The Yankees have to go make it happen. And none of those moves would preclude you from getting Juan Soto back.
Donald, your response.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is I would love to have another lefty bat, another lefty power bat in there. So for me, as much as I would like Christian Walker, I'm edging towards a Nate Lowe. I think Nate Lowe is a better fit. I want another lefty bat in there to mix it up because I want to prioritize that. So that's one of my main takeaways is I want another lefty bat too. So I think Lowe would be an amazing pickup.
Yeah, it's I my concern would be is, or curiosity would be, who do you think the Rangers would ask for in a Nate Lowe trade? I don't know how rich that trade would have to be, But if you're going to make a trade for a first baseman, Lowe would be at the top of the list. Really, Diaz would be a kind of like a 1A, only because it's within the division. Do you want to give it, some of our better prospects for him and trade them within if you could just send him out west? But Christian Walker, if the free agent market, if the contract's fair and negotiations can go in the Yankees' favor, then that would be an option. So I guess the gist of it would be free agent would be Walker, and the trade would be Lowe. It sounds like that's something that we're all on the same page with.
Well, he's got 2 more years on his deal, so I don't think it would be crazy. So he's under contract for 2 more seasons, and he's projected to earn $10.7 million in arbitration this season. That's really pocket change for us.
I mean, would it cost you maybe? Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
No, I mean, I'm just looking at the Rangers. They might need a little bit of help. I mean, most of their top guys are pitchers, but they might need a major league ready pitcher. Maybe Nestor Cortez helps them. If you can make a swap, Nestor for Lowe. Maybe we have to throw in a prospect or two because I think Lowe might have more value. But they just lost Nate Eovaldi. He declined his option. So maybe that would save them a few $1 million. It would get them a pitcher. I'm just trying to think of options there that doesn't include a ton of prospects. But even if it costs you, it's not going to cost you a Spencer Jones or an Arias or anything like that. But again, everybody should be on the table here from this farm system. If they're really serious about making this team better and going back to the World Series, you shouldn't be holding back in terms of if it costs you even a Chase Hampton. I don't think the Yankees should balk at that because you need a guy like Nate Lowe on this team, a good player at a premium position for much cheaper than the free agent market would be right now. I don't think anyone should be off limits, with the exception of maybe Jones and an Arias. But other than that, I think you absolutely have the tools to make it happen. And maybe it is a Nestor Cortez that can help us get a guy like Nate Lowe. That would save them a few dollars, and it would kind of be a need-for-need swap. And you kind of just go from there. Maybe you give them a Rumfield or even a Ben Rice in that trade so they get a major league ready first baseman back. So you can make that happen, but I don't know if Texas would do that. Will Warren, I'd be more than willing to give him up for Nate Lowe. Trust me, I would walk him to the airport. I'm sure Donald would race him to the airport, but there's ways to make it happen. It's just go and get these guys because the Yankees can get really creative. And yeah, you're Acevedo, you're absolutely right. Stroman needs to be traded. If they weren't going to use him in the playoffs, they got to find a way to get him off the books, and that creates an additional $18 million to spend. That could get you Christian Walker. If they move Marcus Stroman, that can get you Christian Walker.
Well, I was going to say those were the names I was going to throw in because especially when you said Ben Rice, because it seems like if they're going to get a first baseman, they're going to have Wells and Narvaez. Ben Rice might be just could be the odd man out. Especially having Cabrera and LeMahieu still on the roster. So there's your backup first baseman. Also Birdie. So if it comes to it, Ben Rice might be a valuable trade chip that's really has not been brought highly into a discussion. But I think Ben Rice can get you a good return if added with somebody else. And I do want to welcome in. I'm going to bring this comment up. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. We do welcome all fan bases, Dodgers 2024 World Champions, you bums, Soto to the Red Sox. Actually, the Dodgers are them bums.
You know what's really funny is that the image, the photo is really cute, and the message is really mean.
No, he had to subscribe to call us bums, so we appreciate that. We thank you for that.
But is Ben Rice? I want to get your take and everybody in the chat. Is Ben Rice one of those trade chips that can hold more value than expected?
I don't see why not. Again, nothing should really be off limits, and I agree once again with Acevedo. I would, if you can get something for Spencer Jones, this might be the year to do it. Because if you
really
look, I don't. We appreciate you, Nando.
Yeah,
Look,
no,
we,
you're
we,
good,
we
bro.
don't we can take some criticism. Trust me, the three of us have done this long enough. We appreciate you, but let's just say like a hypothetical. And Brad, I know you're gonna say something when I say this name, but if let's just say the Mariners are in desperate need of bats, and one of those pitchers are available, Gilbert, Kirby, Wu, Bryce Miller. If one of those names become available, I'd be more than willing to give up Spencer Jones for one of those arms. Because Gilbert's got like what 3 years of control, and he's a bit older, like out of the group. I mean, we need a number two behind Cole. I don't know if Rodon's that guy anymore, and Gilbert would be like this year's Dylan Cease in terms of the guy to go trade for that has multiple years of control. I think they need to explore it. I'm not saying you have to trade him, but if you're, this might be the year to really explore it because if he can get you a frontline starter, you might have to entertain that trade. I like Spencer Jones a lot. I'm not saying I'm giving up on him, but if he has another year like this, like last year, his value might dip a little bit, and you might lose the opportunity to trade him because I don't know where his role is, especially if Soto's back. We're gonna have to wait like 3 years for him to really play because Stanton's not going anywhere, and you'd have Dominguez, Judge, and Soto in the outfield. So where does Spencer Jones play? Do they finally transition him to first? But he might be too tall for first base. I know he's athletic enough, but you really, and if Gilbert's the guy they're trying to move, trust me, I'm giving up Spencer Jones for Logan Gilbert. That dude is filthy, absolute filth. He'd be the perfect guy to have behind Garrett Cole.
Yep. Yeah, if you're able to get like a Cole Gilbert with Rodon, I think that's brutal. That's a tough. That really turns our rotation to more of a threat than it was last year.
But the only thing, I mean, I'm a big Spencer Jones guy, and if there's one guy that I really want to see if we can maximize his talent, is him. It's just his big issue is his strikeouts. He had 200 strikeouts last year. That can't happen, not in the minor leagues. So he is another year of seasoning away. But let's not forget, he is only 23. So I mean, I wouldn't expect him until 2026 anyway. And I think that a really good hitting coach to work on his zone, work on his pitch selection. I think you could cut that right down to about 140 strikeouts and get more average, get the average up a little bit, get that OPS up, and you could be looking at an elite prospect again. I don't want to give up on him. I mean, it wasn't a bad year. It was just the strikeouts. You know, the 17 homers and 78 RBIs in 2024 in the minors is fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine, pretty good. The 452 slug is okay. The OPS just under 800. It's all right. It's fine. The six triples shows that he's got speed and athleticism. The 25 stolen bases I like. The 43 I liked more last year in 23. So it was a drop off, but a lot of that had to do with the fact he wasn't getting on base. And so if we could get him back on base and cut down those strikeouts, you could be looking at an elite prospect. And I don't want to give up on that. So, again, I'm a big fan of him. I liked what I saw. I can't really move off of what I liked. That I really liked his spring training last year. I thought he was excellent last year in spring training. He didn't miss anything. So I think we just need to get his strikeouts down. And that just all ties into the fact that the Yankees need to improve their minor league system. The minor league system's fine, but the coaching could all do with an upgrade also at the major league level as well. If we can work on those things, get a better developmental coach, maybe in terms of hitting, you could be getting back the kind of prospect that we all expect with Spencer Jones. He's got the athleticism. He's got the speed. He's got the defense. I think he's better defensively than Jason Dominguez. He's better athleticism as well. It's just he doesn't have the plate discipline. So that's what he needs to work on.
No, I think there's always going to, this offseason, there's going to be a player that's on the market that we're going to be willing to move a guy that we highly regard. You know, it would have to be one of the Mariners pitches for me to be okay with moving Jones. Because I don't think the strikeouts in today's baseball, strikeouts aren't as detrimental to your success than it was when we were growing up.
It's true.
You know, it's like everybody's going to strike out a lot. You know, it's just the way that baseball has become. Nobody cares about strikeouts. It's the situations where they strike out that put it into spotlight. So, you know, if you go 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts in the next game, you're hitting a walk-off. Nobody's talking, bitching about your strikeouts the game before. You know, if you strike out in the first inning, but you hit a walk-off home run in the ninth, nobody's talking about the strikeout. So I don't think the strikeouts with Jones is that big of an issue. I really don't. But there has to be a player that will, like, at the ends justify the means, and it might be time to move. Like when Soto was first on the market, I'm like, goodbye Jones or Dominguez. You know, there has to be that guy. Is there one for you, Donald? Because you were saying how you were, and Rob as well. You know, everybody in the chat, like, who would it have to be this year, this offseason, that you would move on from a Jones or a Dominguez?
Logan Gilbert. I just said it. I'm giving him up for Logan Gilbert. Like 3 years of this guy at the age of 27. He just went 208 innings last year. The dude was fantastic. And if the Mariners would be, I'm not saying it's going to happen. This is probably highly unlikely they even move him. But if they're that desperate for bats that could be major league ready within the next year, and you can get, and maybe Peraza would have to be part of that deal as well, and another prospect. But if you can get one of those arms from the Mariners, that rotation is so good. I don't know about Crochet because he only did it for 1 year. It was 1 year of being really good. He was fantastic, but is he going to keep that up? That's a question mark. But Gilbert, he's got years of success under his belt already. And this dude is an ace. Unfortunately for him, he's got to be a number 2 because Kirby's probably better, and that 1-2 punch in Seattle is as good as you're going to get in baseball. You put Gilbert behind Garrett Cole with Rodon behind those two, you're looking at a really good top 3, and then you can have Heel and Schmidt. You don't have to worry about the rotation anymore. The rotation would be set, and that would allow you to move Nestor and Stroman to clear extra money to fill the offensive needs. I don't want to say I'm giving up on Spencer Jones, but I'm trying to figure out, you have to make a decision between him and Dominguez. Who's your guy? Because if Soto's back, this is all under the assumption Soto's back, yes. Where is the other? You have 2 prospects. Who's playing where? If Dominguez is in center and Judge is in left, or if Judge is in center and Dominguez is in left, eventually Judge will have to translate to DH, but are you going to make Spencer Jones wait in the minors for 3 years? Because then it's tough to say that because he's going to be, 26 at that point? I don't know if they want to do that because then he might decline a little bit. I'm just saying if there was a time to do it, it might be now. If a guy like Gilbert's available, you might have to bite that bullet because I would have done it last year for Dylan Cease, and how much would Dylan Cease have meant to this team? The dude was phenomenal. And Brian Wu as well. I mean, one of those arms, I'm willing to move Spencer Jones for one of those Mariners arms. I'm not saying Castillo because I think he's got a no-trade clause, and I'm not going to jump through hoops in a hypothetical like some people would. But one of those 4 arms from Seattle would be a prime target to get because they're young, controllable, and very good at that.
But other people that are young and controllable would be these beautiful free agents that we could sign. Max Fried or Flaherty, any of those dudes, you could sign them to a multiple year contract, and you've got your number 2 starter right there. Or you could go and get Sasaki, and Sasaki might be better than all of them. And then you wouldn't have to worry about trading prospects. Another thing about Spencer Jones and where would he play and all that stuff, we're already assuming that Jason Dominguez is going to be the guy. We don't know yet because the Yankees completely destroyed his confidence last year, right? Let's just call a buck, right? Let's call it fair. The Yankees screwed him around last year, right? And what did that do to Gleyber Torres? Messed him around. What did it do to Gary Sanchez? Messed him around. So we can't just assume that Jason Dominguez is just going to pick it up and take off. We hope so. So I'd much prefer having that extra option in there. That Spencer Jones, maybe Spencer Jones can turn it around, but he's not going to be ready in 2025 anyway. I think he's a 2026 guy. Probably tail end of 2025. I'd much prefer having the options. We don't have a top heavy farm system. We've already discussed this. We've got the depth. It goes down. We've got some good B prospects that go quite deep, deeper than most systems, but we don't have the top end stuff. So Spencer Jones is one of those top end guys. So I don't want to just necessarily just give up on him for another arm, which you could just go into free agency. The Yankees are poor, so I'm standing by that. I'd stick with Spencer Jones. I just need to coach him better. We need to coach him better. It comes down to a better analytics system and a much better coaching system, and get these guys coached up. Spencer Jones has all the talent in the world. He's got power. He's got speed. He's better defensively than Jason Dominguez. And his power is right there too. I'm not giving up on that guy. That guy has talent. I see it. I absolutely believe in it. And so I'm going to ride with that. I mean, from watching the prospects, I never liked Warren, but I've always liked Spencer Jones. So I'm going to trust my gut. I think Will Warren is eminently movable. I'd move him for anything you want. But Spencer Jones, I've got a lot of hope for this guy. I know the strikeouts are up, but a lot of that is to do with poor coaching. So let's get that coaching fixed up, and let's get him ready to go in 2026. We don't know what Stanton's status in 2026. Maybe it'll be time to think about making him part-time DH in 2026. Let's not. We don't know what's going to happen a year from now. Aaron Judge is heading for the DH spot. That's where he's headed. So there will be room for Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez and Juan Soto outfield within the next 18 to 24 months. So I'm going to stick with that.
There was a big narrative that we were pushing last year, especially after the Soto trade. When Jones was in talks of being traded for Dylan Cease and other guys on the market. It also has to. We don't know if Soto's coming back. Like, there's no guarantee on that yet.
No.
Let's take the narrative that Soto does sign elsewhere, and you have to realign your outfield. Wouldn't you rather have Dominguez and Jones in your pipeline to play left and center and put Judge back and right? I think that we can't.
I think you can sign Teoscar Hernandez on a short-term deal.
Well, I'm just playing. To Dominguez and Jones are very highly regarded, more amongst the fan base than maybe the team itself. To kind of appease the fan base on these two guys that we're dying to see get a fair shot. Let's see if we can get them. Jones might not be ready for another year. If you have to put, here's a scenario I want to play into. We don't have Judge. We don't have Soto. You put Judge back in right field. You have Dominguez and center. You have an option between either Teoscar Hernandez or take another flyer on Verdugo.
Oh, man.
I mean, if that's an easy choice. If it's between those two, you're taking Hernandez. Hernandez is great in the outfield, and he's a much better bat. But look, I'm not saying that I can't stand Spencer Jones or anything. I'm just saying if you have a chance to go get a young, controllable, cheaper starting pitcher, you have to explore that opportunity because, again, Grisham's still here, but they got a non-tender Grisham or try to make him.
He's got to go. They need
because you could find a fourth outfielder. I like Grisham, but for $6 million, you're going to have him sit on the bench again. I don't know. But again, there's ways to clear money. I'm not saying they have to go right now. You better go trade Spencer Jones. But if the opportunity arises to go get a Logan Gilbert type pitcher, I don't think you can pass that up again because we saw our rotation was good last year, but not having that depth or guys that can give you length. It hurt us in the playoffs because Rodon wasn't great. He was okay in the playoffs, but outside of Cole, the rotation wasn't really outstanding. So yeah, Max Fried would help, but do the Yankees want to go give another $20 million to a free agent? Because the last two they've given out big contracts to haven't really panned out. We're already talking about moving Stroman after one season. He wasn't that bad, but the Yankees don't really seem to like him very much because they didn't use him in the playoffs. And Rodon, after 2 years, hasn't really lived up to $27 million a year. So the Yankees might be a little bit hesitant to give out another big free agent pitcher contract. They maybe would rather spend that money on offense. So a guy it's like, we just got to make sure this guy hits. Maybe they want to give that money to Walker instead of a pitcher like Max Fried. And I like Max Fried. I like Jack Flaherty. I love Corbin Burns. But do the Yankees want to go and give big money to a pitcher again when the last couple outside of Cole and maybe Tanaka haven't really given them the results that they were looking for? I'm just trying to play that side there. The Yankees might be a little bit hesitant, be like, it hasn't really worked out for us in recent years outside of Garrett Cole. Do they want to do that again?
The bed that they're jumping into, though, I mean, let's look at it. Marcus Stroman has always, for the last couple of years, had an issue pitching second half of the seasons. He's been doing that for the last couple of years. So he didn't have a big market last year, Marcus Stroman. There was a reason for that. And I'm not saying he was a bad pitcher. I quite liked him. I actually thought he was pretty good. But for the last couple of years, it was trending that he'd have strong first halves, and then injuries would and I don't know what, stamina or whatever, would have him completely tail off second half. Rodon has always had injury problems, always. So it was always a risk. That signing was a risk you had to make, but it was always a risk because that dude's had injury problems. So I don't know whether it would be any less risky to go and get a Fried or a Burns or a Sasaki. I think I really would hate the Yankees just to paint everyone with the same brush. You know what I mean? Like, some free agents work out, some they don't, but you've got to keep going. You know, the Yankees have the money to reinvest. So
Sasaki would cost you nothing.
Exactly.
Sasaki would be a no risk for any. Even the Athletics would be taking no risk for Sasaki.
And bro, I'm not even sure if the Dodgers are gonna get him. I'm not necessarily sure about that because they're talking about maybe opening up a 6-man rotation to get Sasaki. It doesn't sound like he's absolutely required there. Like, he's more required here.
Does he prefer the West Coast though? Because again, a lot of players, even Murakami said it years ago, he prefers the West Coast, but he would give the Yankees a look. They like the West Coast, especially when a lot of their fellow countrymen are there. So Seattle would be enticing to Sasaki. San Diego, San Francisco, of course the Dodgers would be. That's why Ohtani chose the Angels in the first place.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay to the West Coast. But
doesn't Sasaki idolize one of the ex-Yankee Japanese players?
Tanaka.
Right.
I'm not saying they can't get him. Look, if Sasaki was their top, if they got Sasaki, I don't care about Logan Gilbert. Sasaki is that freaking good. He's going to cost you $800K. And then you can keep Spencer Jones. Sasaki is a zero risk move for any organization because he's getting posted early. So that's something we need to keep in mind. Sasaki is a completely separate move because that signing would not preclude you from anything. If you can get Roki Sasaki, you get Roki Sasaki, and you don't worry about the rotation after that. That is a bona fide ace for nothing on the payroll. You go get him. And L.I., I see you. I know you would agree with it. See? He's an ace waiting to happen. But
now,
you can get him and sign a Max Fried, I'd be fine with that. I'm just trying to see if the Yankees are trying to, if most of their money goes to Soto, they're going to have to clear money in other ways to add a first baseman, potentially another infielder, and add to the bullpen. If they want to add another starter, they might have to go the trade route for that. That's what I'm trying to say. So if one of those Mariners arms are available, you can go get them, but it would cost you a Spencer Jones. You might have to bite that bullet. If you can hold on to him, fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But if you can get Sasaki, then you don't really have to worry about the rotation after that.
Well, say if you trade for Lowe's $10.7 million of arbitration, and then you clear off Stroman's contract, then you could potentially sign Sasaki, trade for Lowe, and still be working at a considerable profit.
They can trade Nestor too and go. This might be the year they have to pay premium price for a bullpen arm.
Yeah,
Estevez, Tanner
That's
Scott.
something I do think we need to prioritize. Yeah.
So that's why and those are going to cost you like 10 million or more. And I don't really like doing that because I was totally against it with Hader last year. But this might be the year you have to give out like 14 million to a bullpen arm because you need it. You might have to get 2 premium arms, not for 15 million each, but you have to give out like a $7 million deal and like a $14 million deal. So you might have to use that money. That's where going cheaper for the rotation can help you.
No, I think Sasaki and a trade for Gilbert, or I think that is the right route to go for this rotation. Because if you're able to have your 2025 rotation as Cole, I don't know, either go Rodon or Sasaki, depending on how the spring goes, Gilbert, and then you have either Cortez or Stroman. You also have Cody Poteet. Clark Schmidt, is going to definitely be in the rotation next year. I think that is a premium rotation.
Did you mention Luis Heel or did?
Oh, I did. Heel.
The guy's about to win Rookie of the Year, so that's what I'm saying. Like that, I don't think the Yankees need to add 2 starters. So if Sasaki was the one guy they got, fine. Go to war with Cole, Rodon, Sasaki, Schmidt, Heel. That's a great rotation. But if you have to go, if you can add another arm to that, what does that do with Clark Schmidt? Does he become expendable? Clark Schmidt can get you a decent return, but that's the thing. I don't think they want to add 2 starters. Then I don't think they're going to go 6-man rotation. They haven't done that before, and I don't think they would. They didn't do that to appease to Tanaka. Why would they do that for Sasaki? I don't know if they're going to add 2 starters, but if they did, they'd have to get rid of
0 requirement for 2 starters. But if you go Garrett Cole, Luis Heel, Rodon, Schmidt, that's 4. You need 1 more.
I go Sasaki. It frees up more money for the bullpen.
So you could go that direction. For me, prioritize first base. I think third base could be an internal option. I think we've got enough there with Peraza and Turbin. And you still got Oswaldo Cabrera, who we shouldn't give up on necessarily. So you could do that internally. You can get third base covered internally. First base, I want to prioritize. It needs to be top level. No fucking around this time. Excuse me. You need to get a proper first baseman that you can settle in that middle of the order and really help. So that's an absolute must. Premium bullpen arm that either closes or is an 8th man for Luke Weaver. That's a must. And for me, I would go and attack either Sasaki, Corbin Burns, or Max Fried or Jack Flaherty. One of those guys. And I'm telling you, this team would be absolutely legit. If you could have like the ideal offseason of like a low, say you get Sasaki / Fried in there, and a bullpen arm. Holy shit. Yeah, sign me up. So that'd be a good offseason. I mean, we're working under the assumption of a Juan Soto, obviously.
I'm looking at this comment here from LI, and Reed Detmer is, you said, cheap, under control, wasn't that good. Wouldn't you rather get somebody cheap that's actually good, like Sasaki? Wouldn't that be your move?
That would just clear money, though. If it gets Stroman's money off the books, I don't think you can be picky. You can probably try to get a couple of prospects for him, but if you have to take on like one semi-bad player that doesn't cost you that much, you might have to bite the bullet there. I don't like Detmer's.
Sasaki into the bullpen, bro. Sasaki is a guy that's going to strike out 200 people this year.
Sasaki is a starter. If he goes to the Dodgers, he wouldn't be an ace. But if he went to like the Padres, he might be their number 2. Like that's how good this kid is. Like there's a reason he wants to come out early.
Ken, have you seen his numbers in Japan, bro?
That splitter, it might be the best pitch I've ever seen. Like it's fucking disgusting. I'm sorry for cursing.
Yeah.
consistently. Like, he's nuts. He's like Mason Miller, but as a starting pitcher. It's ridiculous.
Oh, inject it into my bones.
Yeah. I'm also curious, Nando, if you're still watching it in the chat. I'm curious to know the West Coast vibe, the Dodgers vibe, on Sasaki as well, and how you guys, where you guys think your team sits on it, because it seems like a lot of these guys, it seems to be, the East Coast West Coast battle all over again. Over in pretty much every off season now. There's always this: is he prefer the West Coast or what? So I'm curious how you guys, how your team feels about it. But no, I think if you the guy to move out of our rotation right now would be Stroman, because Cortez could also be used out of the pen if we're able to get a legitimate arm. He's the flexible of Stroman and Cortez. I think Stroman's the one that really wouldn't fit well in the bullpen, where Cortez, just to stay just to be a Yankee would be a little more flexible.
I don't like Nestor out of the bullpen.
Okay.
I don't like Stroman out of the bullpen. And I agree with Damien. They might have to eat some money to trade Stroman, but if you have to eat 5 of that 18, you're still saving $13 million on the payroll, and that can go a long way. Especially if you trade both Nestor. I don't know if they can't get another starter, then Nestor's your number 5. You can do far worse than that. But
facts. If you look at his numbers, it's an ERA like like high threes, like a 380 plus.
Even if he had low 4,
fifth starter, that's tremendous. That is good for a fifth starter.
So I think you try to move Stroman first, and if you can do that, then you can attack the free agent market, or Sasaki. The pursuit for Sasaki starts in December 15th, I think, and then it's going to be all out war for that kid. If you get him, then Nestor can go, because then you can use that money to go get a couple of bullpen arms, and you're set, really. Under the assumption that 22 is back in right field, and you go trade for they can create the payroll flexibility. That's why if you non-tender Grisham, Trevino, Meza, Brubaker, Birdie even, you can try to find a trade partner for some of those guys, but if you non-tender those, that's like $19 million right there. Trading Stroman can save up like $13 million. Nestor can save you about 8, 7.7, whatever it may be. There's plenty of flexibility to get Sasaki, a first baseman, and 2 bullpen arms, and you go to war with that roster next year. The roster's set. So there's absolutely a way for the Yankees to do it. So I don't want to hear anyone say the Yankees don't have the financial flexibility to go add to this team after Juan Soto. They absolutely do, but they have to be very creative and very quick. They have to be aggressive to make it happen. They can't be like, oh, well, with Soto back, we can get back to the world. No. You've got to go all out to get back to the world, because now the expectation is you better fucking win it. If Soto's back, we just got there, we got a taste of it. We need the whole fucking cake now. So you better go and win it. So you got to do whatever it takes, and you can still get under 301. Every opportunity to do so. So it's on Hal, it's on Cashman, it's on Boone even, it's on this front office to really shut a lot of us up and go make it happen and still stay under that Cohen tax. But you got to be aggressive.
Yeah, I think the second that Soto signs a deal with the Yankees, the expectations are not even getting back to the World Series. He's going to be signing to handle unfinished business, which is win the World Series. They better make the proper moves to improve the rotation, improve the infield defense, secure up the rotation, and they have all the means to do it. And we've gone over it already today, whether it's free agent market, the international market, trades. There's no excuse now. Like, they want to eat the $5 million eat $5 million on Stroman, like you said, Rob. The Yankees just to tie it back to the beginning of the show. The Yankees just got getting $15 million from the Rays that we weren't expecting to have. So take $5 million of it and give it to Stroman, and use the $10 million to upgrade your ballpark or whatever. There are ways to do it. And Jason, believe me, I love Jordan Montgomery. But that ship is sailed. He ain't coming back.
Yeah, Montgomery, he only took that option just to spite the owner who disrespected him.
Yeah. And man, he got disrespected.
That was
He
that was
really got this.
that was disrespected. So Montgomery said, "All right, fuck you. I'm taking your money next year." Good for him. Good for him. I hope Montgomery is bad again and then signs elsewhere and pitches his ass off the next year. Just because that owner said what he said. There was no need for that. Montgomery was terrible last year, but it was unnecessary for him to call him out. Like it was blaming him for for being bad. Like, well, obviously it was his fault. He was terrible, but he was signed so late. You couldn't expect too much from the guy. I mean, even Snell took like a couple of months to finally get going.
Yep. Yeah, and you can't. It's hard to put Snell and Montgomery by the end of the season in the same sentence. They're just two different caliber pitches.
Snell's another one that's available. It'll be pricey. I think you're probably looking at a 3-year, $158 million contract, maybe.
That's a lot of money. 3 years, 150?
Well, 4 years, 150. I think 4 years.
I was gonna say.
Like, damn. I'm gonna start practicing to throw. And no, I don't think it's going all to the Soto Fund. No, they have plenty of money to go around. And it's. I never actually put that much thought into it until Donald said it. 46% of their income goes toward the payroll. What if they increase it to 55% of their income? That solves all your off-season needs.
You could get every free agent in baseball with that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how much money we make. That's how much money we make.
And Jonathan, I think Cortez and Stroman at this stage are as good as gone. It all depends on how the market goes. Are we able to? If we land Sasaki, you won't even think about them. Aaron Boone, thank you so much. Glad you're enjoying the show.
Have a good off season, Cap.
Yep. Do we think? What is it? I want to close with one thing before the weekend because it's been coming up, and it's a minor thing, but it'll only take a couple of minutes to get everybody's opinion. What is it? Is baseball getting a bad look on the small market teams that you're going to have two major league teams playing in minor league ballparks?
No, well, the A's, because that ownership deserves to be thrown in a fucking jail cell, but the Rays have to do it because of unfortunate circumstances. It's if the hurricane didn't hit, then we wouldn't be talking about this. The A's need to go to hell. That ownership group did that city so dirty, and they deserve everything that they get coming to them. I feel so bad for that fan base because they can be very good. Like they showed out last year, even if the team was terrible. But the Rays had no other choice.
Are you expecting to rebuild the Tampa Bay Dome over the next 3 months?
Well, no, because they. And I know they're not doing it by choice. It was just that was the headline of an article, about how it's pretty sad that you have two major league teams playing in minor league ballparks. But what they don't mention, like Rob alluded to from the right off the bat, is they're two different circumstances. One had no choice and one had a choice. The Rays had no choice.
I know you're playing devil's advocate, man, but sometimes there's no need to play devil's advocate. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
But you hear all this talk about baseball expansion. We could probably go into that in another show. But you have these teams like the A's, the Marlins, and some of these teams that just don't invest anything. Meanwhile, here we are, trying to figure out, do you go over $300 million or do you not? How much more of your budget do you put in? There are teams that, like Rob said, the $15 million we're getting from the Rays, that's more than what they're paying one player. You have all these teams, but they want to talk expansion. So why not just relocate some of these teams where the owners just don't give a shit, or the market's just not there? and move them to an area like bring them back to Montreal, where there is a market for baseball to return.
Well, let's not paint it as if the Rays. Sorry, just to jump in, but let's not paint it like the Rays haven't been successful until last year. Like they've been going to the playoffs pretty regularly. So again, I don't want to come across as this arrogant Yankee fan that's going to go and fix other teams. Like we're in a position where we need to fix ourselves before we worry about others. But my only takeaway from this is I think the Yankees are doing a great thing for Tampa Bay, and it's going to be cool. And I think it'll be good for baseball that Rays are actually playing in a decent ballpark, and so it could be fun. I think it'll be fun. So salute to the Rays.
Better look too.
Yeah,
the place will probably be packed, even if Yankee fans go to watch it, because the Trop is an ugly ass stadium, and they have to close off the upper deck most days anyway, unless the big teams come in. So it'll probably be a better look on television to see a mostly packed stadium for a baseball game. And look, the only ownership, the Rays, Tampa Bay hasn't. The Buccaneers always get fans. The Lightning get fans. It's not like there's nobody in the Tampa Bay area that cares about sports. Is the Rays haven't really given them a reason to care, because it's like unless the Yankees are coming to town, that stadium doesn't really sell out. Even when they're good, they might just not care about baseball. But it's also the area. That St. Petersburg area, not a lot of people, even people in Tampa Bay, don't want to go there, apparently, from what I've heard. So they might need to just put it in Tampa Bay. That might help them. I don't know if that. I think that's where they're trying to go. Like when it gets built, they're having a new stadium. I don't know, but the A's are a completely different discussion from Tampa Bay right now, because what they're doing is they're forcing their way to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is gonna get them a bunch of people. But if the product sucks, who's gonna really want to go?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I said. I didn't say Ray. I said the A's and the Marlins, not the Rays and the Marlins.
Well, the Marlins, you're not moving out of Miami. Yeah. Miami eventually, even with like, just to be the demographic that's there, they're going to show out when the World Baseball Classic comes in. That's where they get most of their money anyways. When the World Baseball Classic, that is so fun. If anyone has a chance to go to a World Baseball Classic game in Miami when it's like the Dominican Republic versus Puerto Rico, go. It is one of the most fun experiences you can have. Just watching those two fan bases go at each other, it's an experience, and you're going to enjoy it. So I would recommend that to anybody. The World Baseball Classic is a must-watch live. I was very lucky to go to one of those games years ago, but I want to do it again.
All right, Donald, your final thoughts.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's not much to really say. We need to see how the next few days pan out, if there's any updates. But I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be a while yet. So we'll just wait and see.
I mean, my final thought on it is, one, like you said, Donald, that was my set. I think the Yankees are putting, rivalry and competitiveness aside and doing the right thing for an organization in need, and that's something that everybody should do. It's sometimes you just have to. There's no pride involved. It's just an instinct to help somebody else when they need it. And kudos to Hal and the Yankees for not even giving it a second thought. Hey, you need some play to go? Come to my house. I'll take you in for a little while. And it's something that in this climate, I think that's a lesson that should be absorbed and carried out in everyday life. So that is my final take on most of the discussion from today. We do hope that everybody does hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out. Your friends, your family, strangers on the corner. It's been the Pitch Like Chronicles. This is where fans become family. We'll be back Monday, 10 a.m. as always. And Sunday, the girls will be back at 11 a.m. Prior to the Football Sunday program. So just remember, as we always say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.